Hello dear viewers, welcome to this edition of the News in English on Rwanda Television. My name is Sarah Shinhori. Let us start with the headlines. The 13th edition of the Africa CEO Forum is currently taking place here in Kigali. Rwanda Polytechnic has held its 9th graduation ceremony. And on the international scene, ships have remained anchored in the Strait of Hormuz amid Iran's ongoing restrictions on navigation through the strategic waterway and the United States' continued naval blockade of Iranian ports. Thank you again for taking the time to join us for this edition. Now, as we begin, let us first inform you that on the sidelines of the Africa CEO Forum, His Excellency President Paul Kagame met with President Brice Nguema of Gabon, who is in Rwanda to participate in the forum. The two leaders discussed ways to further strengthen bilateral cooperation through expanded economic partnerships, increased trade, and the exchange of knowledge and skills, among other areas of mutual interest. Now, President Kagame also held separate meetings with Dr. Sidi Ould-Tah, the President of the African Development Bank, Abdallah Al-Musabish, President of the Arab Bank for Economic Development in Africa, Philippe Labon, the President of Africa Global Logistics Group, and Gabriel Godo, the President of Airbus Africa and Middle East. The meetings focused on strengthening partnerships and advancing investment opportunities that support Rwanda's economic growth and transformation agenda. Now, President Paul Kagame has stressed that sanctions often threatened or imposed by foreign countries on African nations should serve as a reminder for the continent to build up its own self-reliance. Adam Squizera with the details on that.
The forum has brought together 7 heads of state and more than 2,800 business leaders and investors from across Africa and beyond. The Self Jeune Afrique, which organizes the forum, Amir Ben Ahmed, noted that over 15 years, the event has significantly made a progress in promoting investment and improving the business environment across the continent.
Foreign investment is required. The only thing is how you create and share value. A lot of international companies are here, have already started listed their companies. That's how you create value. You help African retail investor, African institutional investors get a part of the value that has been created by holding equity. So we need MSA, we need Orange, we need Schneider Electric, we need all these international companies that are a great creator of wealth. And by the way, the chairman of Schneider Electric is here in the room. That's a perfect example of what I was saying earlier. Schneider Electric is one of the most successful industrial company in the world. It's $40 billion with a presence in 100 countries, and it has no owner. And still, it's super successful. So it's better to have a smaller size of a huge pie than staying the way we are today.
This is their approach. Rwanda has prioritized by building investment ecosystem that goes beyond its borders, according to the Chief Executive Officer of Rwanda Development Board, RDB, Jean-Guy Africa.
For Rwanda, this conversation is all too familiar. Our development journey has always required us to think beyond our size and geography and to build the openness, reliability, connectivity, and trust that allow a country to serve not only its own markets, but the wider region and the continent.
In a discussion with CNN journalist Ellen Giokos on the future of Africa's investment landscape, President Paul Kagame said that Africa has gone through many challenges, including colonialism, slavery, pandemics, and other hardships that continue to remind the continent of where it stands and what it must do to move forward.
Also for Africa keeps being a reminder of our position. Where do we stand in this global positioning? And we have had many people contribute ideas and very accurately educating us what we need to do and what we need to be thinking about. But we can't stay there. We need to learn from this. We need to shape what we are doing for ourselves, and action should lead us in the right direction and how to deal with these crises. So, but for Africa, let me say, we have to leverage our competitive advantage, and there are a number of them. So why is Africa always at a disadvantage? When you look back, you see where Africa has been lacking this or that. But really, why, when we have almost everything?
President Kagame also addressed the pressure exerted by foreign powers through threats or sanctions against some African countries. He said that such actions should remind Africa of the importance of self-reliance and fulfilling its own responsibilities.
It hurts, absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's what it is meant to do. It is meant, sanctions or different measures are meant to hurt people. So in a way, we are hurt. But I think we would be hurt more by not doing what we are doing. So it's always, you make a calculation. Yes. So, and it is not so difficult to say no. In fact, it costs more to say yes to the wrong thing.
Yeah.
So we are here, but all these things come to pass in one form or another. Even those who have been given the gift of messing us up, one day they will not live long enough to see the gains from exploiting people or doing unjust things. So I think each one of us, countries in Africa, and mainly and most importantly together, there is a lot we can do to raise Africa, to raise ourselves to the level where it should be, and don't mind about these powers that think they own the world and the heaven and everything else.
President Kagame further emphasized that Africa must take better use of its natural resources and its large youthful workforce, while strengthening cooperation among African leaders to advance the continent's development agenda. Adams Kwizera, RwandaTV News.
Thank you, Adams. Now, the African heads of state meeting here in Kigali have observed that the time has come for the continent to unite in harnessing its resources for development opportunities so that it can keep pace with other continents in achieving sustainable development goals. During discussions at the ongoing Africa CEO Forum, it emerged that there are still challenges in the way African countries operate and cooperate in making productive use of the continent's resources. The president of Gabon pointed out that Africa possesses sufficient resources and, if used for the benefit of all Africans, could provide the required solutions to lead the continent to sustainable development.
Our continent has the biggest reserve of raw materials in the world. We should not accept not to misuse them. As the president of Nigeria was saying, we need to understand one another on the transformation of the local transformation of our raw material here on our continent.
Reinforcing the point, the president of Nigeria, His Excellency Ahmed Bola Tinubu, stressed that words must become actions if indeed their continent's heads of state have the ambition to develop Africa.
We need to put our money where our mouth is and develop a relationship. Luckily, we have African trade agreement that should not be left on the drawing board, should be activated properly. Regional collaboration and effective utilization of our resources, not working in silos, but in collaboration with one another, using what we have. To me, I believe in Africa first, because I've started Nigeria first. And all resources, today, we don't want scavengers. We don't want extractors. We want people to add value. If you're an investor, we will encourage you to add value to what we have as a nation before that is.
His Excellency Brice Guema used the cooperation that exists among countries on other continents to reiterate the benefits of working together.
African countries need to be united to speak on one voice, to mutualize the efforts for an Africa that wins. Let's look at how Europe built itself around industrial, economical, and political alliances. They were able to put in place a common currency, the euro, a common passport, a common visa, Schengen, and with the free movement of people and goods. The European countries have in common an aeronautical company, Airbus, Air France, that extended became KLM. Also, they have a common politic in terms of industry and agricultural politic. So the only divergence for those states is the defense. That's still a tool of sovereignty. So those examples show a simple reality. Economic alliances are tools of power. And we also, in Africa, have our economic alliances to be a powerful continent.
Africa currently has a financing gap of more than $1 trillion. It has to close in order to keep pace with other continents in achieving sustainable development goals. Analysts point out that the continent has many opportunities that are not being fully utilized, one of the most obvious being intertrade, which has remained below 16%. Now, foreign investors here in Rwanda say the country offers many opportunities and that the way the national leadership facilitates investors is something unique to Rwanda on the African continent. Take a listen.
But a wise man once said, never waste a good crisis. I believe his name was Winston Churchill. And this creates a historic opportunity for us as Africans, because for the first time in decades, Africa is not arriving late at the global transformation. The transformation is still unfolding in real time. And Africa's strategic advantages now include demographics, resources, the famous energy transition we've all heard about, minerals, digital leapfrogging, and consumer growth. But one thing remains a challenge: scale. The scale challenge is existential because fragmentation will ultimately not get us to the potential that we know we have as a continent.
Our apologies, officials from the Rwanda Development Board speaking there, noting that the country is yet to reach the goal of becoming a leading investment hub on the continent, hence the drive to continue simplifying investment-related services here in Rwanda. Now, moving on, experts in law and governance believe that security is the key pillar in attracting people who visit Rwanda for different reasons, including attending international conferences, such as the two-day Africa CEO Forum currently ongoing, bringing together leaders of private companies from around the world. At different times, visitors to Rwanda have stated that they do not regret their decision to come because they found the country to be highly secure compared with other countries they have visited.
And I say, okay, I want to go to Rwanda. And because also what we see on television about what's happened over here. So you have something in your mind And I was really overwhelmed how well organized it is.
I mean, we had been wonderfully taken care of with visas, with flights coming in, no problems. I flew Rwanda Air, which was fantastic. You have a wonderful airline with great crew and a woman pilot. Yes, a CAN80 meeting over the next week, and many of them will be from other African countries and all over the world. So Kigali is special, and we are so proud and happy to be here.
Rwanda is just unbelievable. The people are so friendly, it's so clean, and they want to get better and everything. It's a different, and we feel very safe here. The people are so friendly, it's so clean, and they want to get better and everything. It's a different, and we feel very safe here, and that's why we love the country.
The Rule of Law Index 2025, produced by the World Justice Project, ranked Rwanda first in Africa among countries that adhere to the rule of law, while the Chandler Good Government Index 2025 ranked Rwanda second in Africa after Mauritius among countries with good governance.
This means that Rwanda is a place to stay. Rwanda is a place to invest. Rwanda is a place to visit. You would feel safe to visit a country where there is safety, where people can move. You would be safe to visit a country where you can open business within an hour. You would be safe to visit a country whereby you don't have to run up in courts when you're an investor, but there are mechanisms put in place for alternative dispute resolution. You would be very safe and happy, especially in Africa and low developing countries, to visit a country where there is less bribery, where there is no corruption, and whereby you will get a service because you merit it. All these reasons would make Rwanda open for any other person, whether an investor, or a visitor that is coming to Rwanda.
In 2025, the country's meetings, incentives, conferences, and exhibitions, or MICE tourism sector, generated as much as $94.7 million US, up from $84.8 million in the preceding year.
Rwanda is number one, is safety, is like Egypt for me. I can go outside like 3 o'clock in the night, 4 o'clock, is safety. And when I have some problem with anyone, I can take it what I needed, you understand? Is have, is good system. This is very good for business. Any businessman, when he looking about what? About the system in the country, about the safety, about the road, about everything is make easy here. The business here is very good. This is country, inshallah, I see this in my eyes. This is after 5 years, is another way.
Staying on corruption, members of the African Parliamentarians Network Against Corruption say Rwanda is a good example that other African countries can learn from in fighting corruption, promoting good governance, and ensuring accountability. A two-day meeting being held here in Kigali is being attended by board members from different African countries with the aim of strengthening cooperation in fighting corruption, beginning within their respective countries.
As we are getting closer to the middle of the implementation of Africa's Agenda 2063, we shall not achieve the overarching goal of Africa we want if we keep our arms crossed when public resources that could be used to build schools, roads, hospitals are in the pockets of a few dishonest individuals. This board meeting provides us with a vital opportunity to reflect on our continent's goals, review our strategic direction, and strengthen the capacity of our national chapters. We hope that this meeting is a golden opportunity for us to feel the spirit of our shared African values, which are solidarity, accountability, and participatory governance. Here in Rwanda, we firmly believe that the fight against corruption cannot be won in isolation. It requires collective action, unwavering political will, a visionary leadership that cares about the real needs of the people, especially the most disadvantaged and marginalized ones. We must all understand that corruption defies the most cherished and openly repeated universal promise of leave no one behind.
A report by the NGO Transparency International has ranked Rwanda 4th in Africa and 1st in East Africa when it comes to fighting corruption.
I've been fighting against corruption now for nearly 20 years in Parliament, and the APNAC, we call it APNAC, African Parliamentarians Against Corruption. We have a chapter in Rwanda, and he's the chair. But in Rwanda, you talk, something happens. So we want to actually, one of these days, I think we need to seek intervention by His Excellency the President Kagame to come and tell us about corruption, because the way he's doing it is the way is right.
It has been stressed that fighting corruption must go hand in hand with promoting good governance and ensuring accountability.
For this meeting is going to be, I can see, a very thrilling and unforgettable experience. No wonder that the Republic of Rwanda continues to stand out as a remarkable example of visionary leadership, institutional reform. While some progress has been made in strengthening institutions, improving public sector accountability, and promoting citizen participation, the reality still remains that corruption continues to undermine democratic governance, weaken institutions, distort development priorities, and erode public confidence in leadership.
The African Parliamentarians Network Against Corruption was established back in 1999 in Kampala, Uganda. It currently has 26 branches operating in East, Central, Southern, and West Africa. Now let's move to educational matters. And Prime Minister Dr. Justin Nsengiyumva has told students graduating from different departments of Rwanda Polytechnic that the country is sending them out to transform the livelihoods and development of Rwandans through properly applying what they have studied. He gave them the responsibility of going out to build, transform, innovate, and solve problems they will encounter in Rwanda's labor market. It was a moment of great joy for the 3,553 students, including 560 who completed undergraduate studies in technology, as well as those who completed postgraduate studies in different fields at Rwanda Polytechnic.
Today is not only about completing a chapter, it's about accepting the responsibility. Because Rwanda does not simply need graduates. Rwanda needs builders, Rwanda needs thinkers, innovators, and leaders willing to solve problems instead of waiting for someone else to solve them. Class of 2026, years from now, people may forget our grades, but they will remember the impact we made, the systems we improved, the communities we changed, and the future we helped shape. So let today be more than a graduation ceremony. Let it mark the beginning of a generation determined to turn knowledge into actions and dreams into impact. Because the future we once talked about is now waiting for us to build. This is not the end of our journey. This is the moment.
The Vice-Chancellor of Rwanda Polytechnic, Dr. Sylvie Mucho, reminded the graduates that they have been given sufficient practical knowledge to apply what they studied, and that what remains is to make good use of it.
At Rwanda Polytechnic, we are committed to advancing our mission and supporting Rwanda's development agenda by strengthening local innovation and encouraging collaboration. We aim to promote innovation-driven structural change based on strong partnerships and shared commitment. We also endeavor to develop high-quality human capital that can create relevant solutions to address local and societal challenges. Through our strategic locations, we envision to improving the skills of local people and unlocking the potential of communities across the country, hence contributing to territorial transformation.
Today is not only about completing a chapter, it's about accepting the responsibility. Because Rwanda does not simply need...
Our apologies for that. Now, Prime Minister Justin Nsengiyumva observed that Rwanda recognized early the importance of technology, technical and vocational education and training, and innovation in the development of nations, which is why the country chose to invest heavily in institutions that teach such skills, considering them a major pillar for job creation, strengthening industries, and building a resilient economy.
The graduates living here today are not simply degree or diploma holders. They are young professionals equipped with industry-relevant technical and professional skills that are essential to Rwanda's socio-economic transformation. You are innovators, you are builders, you are creators, and you are problem solvers who are adaptable and responsive to the evolving needs of the labor market. We also note with satisfaction that over the years, Rwanda Polytechnic has played a central role in advancing Rwanda's ambition to become a regional hub for excellence in technical education and innovation. By offering diverse programs in engineering, construction, information technology, hospitality, agriculture, creative arts, and other technical fields, the institution continues to empower students with practical competencies that prepare them to compete both locally and globally. Graduates, are you ready? Are you ready to compete locally and globally? You are well equipped to do that. This commitment to excellence is further reflected in the employability of Rwanda Polytechnic graduates. We commend the fact that over time, the employability rate has steadily improved and recently exceeded the institutional target of 70%, securing meaningful opportunities within 6 months of graduation. This outcome demonstrates strong alignment with labor markets, with needs in that labor market, and growing industry recognition of the value of technical education.
Since its establishment back in 2017, Rwanda Polytechnic has awarded degrees to more than 26,000 students. Now, Africa Global Logistics, a diamond partner of the Africa CEO Forum, has highlighted its expanding role in connecting African economies through transport ports and digital logistics systems. With operations in 47 African countries and a workforce of more than 23,000 employees, AGL says it is positioning itself at the center of Africa's industrial transformation. William Evans Mutabazi with the details.
Africa Global Logistics says the continent's economic future will depend not only on production, but on how efficiently goods move across borders, ports, and industrial corridors, making logistics a key pillar of Africa's development agenda.
Logistics is a key pillar of any development agenda that any country can put in place. You can't build any sustainable strategy and a vision without having logistics at the heart of it. So we, AGL, we are at the heart of Africa's transformation. We have invested heavily in the logistics, in the logistics platform, logistic terminals, ports, dry ports, container freight stations, warehouses, contract logistics, trucking solutions, railways, barging for lake transport, and trucking for road transport, capacity building, IT and digital solution, AI, to make logistics a solution for whatever Africa wants to achieve.
The company, which now operates in 47 African countries, is using this year's Africa CEO Forum to emphasize its role in building integrated logistics systems that support regional trade and industrialization.
We believe in Africa, we believe in Rwanda, and our belief is not just a slogan, okay? We are here, we are investing, we are close to 30 million investment in Rwanda so far and counting. We have other projects for investment in Rwanda. So for us, Africa is the place to be. We are managing 23 ports in Africa, and we are continuing to grow. Over 500 million investment in Africa every year. So for us, Africa is the next frontier, okay? So whoever is here for the CEO Africa Forum should grab the opportunities that are there, okay? GDP growth of 8, 9, 10% year in, year out for a country like Rwanda is showing that opportunities are everywhere, okay? So whoever will move fast, will lock the position and they will grab the prize.
From agriculture to mining, energy and telecommunications, AGL argues that logistics is now central to Africa's competitiveness, emphasizing that proper governance will help African countries create greater value.
Rwanda is an example of how a proper governance can create value. And it is also our ultimate goal. We are here in Africa to connect all countries together and to connect Africa for the rest of the world.
Economists say that the cost of transporting goods from the producer to consumer oftentimes makes goods almost 40% more expensive in the whole of Africa. According to Minister of Trade and Industry, Honorable Prudence Sabahizi, AGL has come up with a timely solution, transforming Rwanda from being landlocked to being land-linked.
I have had a chance to visit the facilities of AGL. Rwanda is no longer landlocked. We are land-linked. One of the biggest challenges that we face as Africans is how can we move goods from the production site to the consumer. And this is the solution that AGL is bringing to us. For so long we have heard that the cost of transporting goods from the producer to the consumer has made it more than 40% more expensive in Africa than anywhere else in the world. We hope to see in the near future that the cost of transportation and logistics in the price of the product is going to reduce from 40% to probably 20, 10, or 15%. And this will be achieved through efficient means and ways that AGL is putting in place.
As Africa continues to push for deeper regional integration under the African Continental Free Trade Area, logistics companies like AGL are positioning themselves as key enablers of the ambition. The message remains clear: Africa's industrial future will depend on how well it connects itself. William Evans, RwandaTV News.
Thank you, William. Now, the African Institute for Mathematical Sciences has launched Africa Science Week 2026, a continent-wide initiative aimed at promoting science, innovation, and technology among young Africans. Organizers of Africa Science Week say one of the biggest challenges facing science and innovation on the continent is making scientific knowledge understandable and relevant to ordinary communities. They say the initiative is therefore focused on strengthening science and technology capacity building while ensuring scientific conversations move beyond laboratories and classrooms.
So Rwanda has the national strategy for transformation as NST2, where science and technology or capacity building is really a pillar. So MS is coming to really support academic institutions like the University of Rwanda for us to join forces and build capacity in science, technology, innovation, and mathematics. So it's important for us to ensure that we are training people, but they actually become a bridge to go to a community, because that's where we are taking them from. So we wanted them to send them back there to say, go and make science, speak a language that people understand it that are not necessarily scientists.
Increasing participation in science requires deliberate efforts to attract more young people, especially women and girls, into STEM-related fields.
STEM was developed without AI in mind. Now STEM and AI, we have less people entering that field. We want more. But how do you attract more students to STEM if you don't demystify science? Because sometimes they don't understand, especially if you put our equity, gender, and social inclusion pillar to say, can you reach more women? Can you reach more girls? This is the thing that we are doing. So here in Rwanda, the two EMS alumni that are going to lead the event are female EMS alumni, including the Massacre Foundation scholar. So for us, those are the ambassadors of change. Those are the change makers that we really wanted to provide. They have the resources to do that. It's not only in Rwanda, in Kigali that we are launching it. We're going to go to all the provinces. So if you look at the program, it's very packed. So if you are listening to this, I think reach out to EMS, reach out to the team for us to ensure that we join forces and effort to see how best, what kind of bigger impact we can do. It's only together that we can actually do it. I'm very excited.
Africa Science Week 2026 will run until the 30th of this month of May across South Africa, Cameroon, Rwanda, Ghana, the Democratic Republic of Congo, Nigeria, and Ethiopia.
Nyiri muto arababwiraga data bati ntabwo wagira umukamo mwinshi utunze inka imwe, ariko nigeze acika intege. Mama akinjira mu bucuruzi hari abamubwiraga bati ntabwo watera imbere udakorera mu iduka rigezweho, ariko ntibyamusubije inyuma, yakoranaga umwete. Njya muri kaminuza hari abanshidikanyagaho bavuga ko nashobora kaminuza naturuka mu muryango wifashije, ariko byarangiye nanditse amateka mashya. Igihe cyo gutera ishema umuryango wanjye kigeze, bamwe bakomeje kumbwira bati ntabwo watera umuryango wawe ibyishimo n'ishema, ariko narabishoboye. Hari abakekaga ko nasigira umurage ukomeye abankomokaho, ariko ubu mfite uruganda rutunganya amata. Banki ya Kigali yabaye umufatanyabikorwa wanjye mu rugendo rwose, inzozi zanjye ziba impamo. Bigereho.
Drone footage filmed on Thursday has shown ships anchored in the Strait of Hormuz amid Iran's ongoing restrictions on navigation through the strategic waterway and the United States' continued naval blockade of Iranian ports. Iranian state television has announced that Tehran has allowed 30 ships to pass through the strait since Wednesday night. Speaking during the BRICS summit in New Delhi, India, Iran's Minister of Foreign Affairs said the strait remains open to commercial shipping provided vessels cooperate with Iranian naval forces. Meanwhile, U.S. President Donald Trump has repeatedly stated that the United States will continue its blockade of Iranian ports, describing the measure as fully effective. The U.S. and Israel launched strikes against Iran back in February, killing Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei. His son, Muqtada Khamenei, was later named as his successor. In April, President Trump announced a temporary ceasefire with Iran to allow negotiations aimed at ending the conflict. Talks later took place in Islamabad, that's in Pakistan, but ended without an agreement. Since then, the Strait of Hormuz has remained a central flashpoint, with Iran restricting traffic through the waterway and the U.S. maintaining pressure on Iranian ports and shipping. Now, before we conclude this edition of the news, let us take another look at the headlines. The 13th edition of the Africa CEO Forum is currently ongoing here in Kigali. Rwanda Polytechnic has held its 9th graduation ceremony. And as we just saw, ships have remained anchored in the Strait of Hormuz amid Iran's ongoing restrictions on navigation through the strategic waterway and the U.S. continued naval blockade of Iranian ports. Olive Nete will take you through the next edition of the news. Be sure to join her, and then I'll be seeing you over the weekend. Until then, it's goodbye.